Hello everybody and welcome to a new video on the FPL. I am Jack and I am proud to be joined by Rod. How you doing, mate?
Been better, mate. Omicron, the bastard, has finally got me, but I'm not doing too bad.
Yeah,
Yourself?
yeah, I'm actually alright. I feel ever since I've had my booster jab, I've just been a bit up and down, but since but other than that, I'm fine. Today we're going to be just, going over the first week of, transfer speculation and done deals, especially in the Prem. Rod, the first team we're going to talk about is the place you've last been, Newcastle. So how was that, first of all?
Newcastle, mate, fantastic city. The ground, I was very, very surprised. It is actually a beautiful ground, and it's one of the first stadiums I've ever been to where the ground is in the centre of town. But Newcastle itself, wonderful city, people are class, and it looks like they are going to sign some class players.
It does look like they're going to sign some class players. First up, Rod, I think we should talk Kieran Trippier. It looks all but done now. It's basically a done deal. It looks like it's going to be around 12.5 million with add-ons to bring Trippier from Atletico Madrid to Newcastle United. What do you make of this signing, Rod? I think it's a brilliant bit of business for Newcastle.
I think I think it's a better signing for Newcastle than it is for Trippier. I understand, obviously, he's been in Spain now for a couple of years and he's probably getting a bit homesick, especially after the Euros, playing with all his English teammates. And he is 31, so he's coming towards the end of his career, but I still think he's a very good player.
Yeah.
12.5 million. Newcastle needs some reinforcements in defence and they need some creativity, which he'll be able to bring. And yeah, I saw pictures of him arriving at the Newcastle training ground. So, like you said, it pretty much is all but done.
Yeah, all but done. I think it's a brilliant signing for Newcastle. I think what he offers them, he can play at right back or left back for them. I think that'd be, just brilliant for cover. Not only that, I think as a right back, he's really good at delivering the ball into the box. I think that's something they probably lacked, someone who could whip a ball in, and I think he's definitely got that ability, but also with the set pieces as well, Rod. We've seen at the World Cup what he can do over the dead ball, and I think it's something that Newcastle needed. You don't really think they've got a set piece expert in their team, but to have someone like Trippier who can put his hand up and give it a really good effort, I think that's a great signing for them, Rod. And for 12.5 million, so cheap when you think about it. I know he's 31 and you said he's coming towards the end of his career, but he hasn't really showed signs of decline or anything like that.
I think 12.5 mil, brilliant, and he's definitely going to do a job for them. They need reinforcements at the back, as we've seen. Injuries, COVID, they're pretty injury ridden, so he's definitely going to be a welcome contribution to the side. And I'm more than certain the Geordies are going to get behind him as they're very passionate people, so it's going to be interesting to see him back in the Premier League and what he can bring, and maybe it might be a fantasy asset if Newcastle sort their shit out.
Yeah, he could be a really good fantasy asset, actually. I think a lot of players who are coming in could be looked at as, quite decent assets in FPL. The next player I want to talk about, Rod, is another man who looks like he could be on his way to Newcastle. Nothing confirmed yet. They've had their first bid rejected for Sven Botman. However, it looks like they're likely to go back in for him. He's 21 years old. He's a highly touted left-footed centre-back from the Netherlands. He's currently applying his trade in Lille. I think this signing would just be a massive statement, to be honest. If they're going to get him, they're going to have to fight off some big teams. You're looking at some of the big Serie A teams. Looks like Roma and the Milan sides could be interested in him. However, I think this is the sort of signing which, if Newcastle get someone like a Sven Botman, there aren't too many, really high quality left-footed centre-backs out there. I think as well, when you're looking at in this age bracket, there's only really Schotterbeck from Werder Bremen, is it, or Freiburg, and Botman, a lot of teams have been after him in the past. It looked quite likely last season that he could have been on his way to Wolverhampton, but that didn't happen. I think he's just he can do it all really. He's a big physical player, but he's very comfortable on the ball, Rod. I think this is a position in Newcastle's team which they've really needed to bring someone in. What do you think about Botman and potentially moving to Newcastle?
I don't know too much about him, but like you said, there aren't many good left-footed centre backs. He's still very young, so the potential is through the roof. And I've seen that Lille do want around £30 million, and so I can't imagine that's going to be too much of a sticking point for Newcastle. But where I think it will be a bit difficult is if he wants to come to Newcastle, because if there are Milan clubs interested in him, they obviously play at a higher level than, well, currently obviously Newcastle in the Premier League, but it does look like they are on their way down. And as we know, the Championship isn't easy to get out of, and with the Milan clubs, they can give them Champions League football, European football, and be contending for domestic trophies. So if they can get this over the line, then I think huge signing for Newcastle, because he is a good player. But the massive if is if they can get it over the line.
Yeah, I think you're kind of right with that. It's not really going to be a problem for Newcastle to maybe negotiate for the deal. It's just going to be whether Botman really sees his future at Newcastle. I know you said it looks like Newcastle could be going down, but this is what these signings are here for. It's to keep them up. They're linked with quite a few big players this window. I think Botman would be quality for him. From what I've seen, I haven't seen all too much, but very highly touted, like Nico Schotterback. There aren't many left-footed centre-backs, especially young ones coming out at the moment, who look like the real deal, but Botman definitely looks like he could be. Also, Rod, being linked with Newcastle, it looks like Ramsey's coming back to the Premier League, and if he does, Newcastle is going to be his most likely destination. I love Ramsey, Welsh football fan, Welsh rugby fan, just Welsh fan in general. I always hated him when he's playing for Arsenal, but when he played for Wales, he always has that bit of quality. I think if he was to go to Newcastle, he's going to offer him goals, assists. Obviously, since his move to Juventus, hasn't really panned out all too well for him. What do you think of the deal in general, Rod?
I think Ramsey, I do quite like him as a player, and similar to Trippier, he is getting on, so I imagine he does want to be closer to home, and Newcastle is obviously it's in England. But I think for me, he is going. It's a bit of a mercenary signing, I think, if he does go to Newcastle.
Yeah,
because he's at Juventus now, and I know he wants to go. I've seen Allegri say that he is an outgoing player, but he is on a lot of money, and I think he probably wouldn't reduce his wages at Newcastle. He'd want them to probably match it, or maybe give him a bit more to convince him to go there. So I see him as a bit of a mercenary signing, but I can't see him improve their midfield alongside obviously Shelby, Isaac Hayden, Willock. I think it does improve it, brings some experience, but this for me is leaning more towards the mercenary signing.
Yeah, I just think it's a bit of an upgrade on Willock. I think Willock's got huge potential. I think Ramsey coming into the team, he's more, he understands the league a bit more. I think you could say he's more experienced for sure. And he always turns up for Wales. He's always been brilliant for Wales. I just think if he did go to Newcastle, there is, positives and negatives. I think the negatives would be, if they do go down, having someone on that much wages, although it might not be a problem for him, offloading him may be, really hard. So depending on how long of a contract they could sign him on, maybe a 1-2 year deal. But for me, I just think there's the negatives really are outweighed by the positives and what Ramsey can offer you. We saw with Arsenal what he can do with Wales. Obviously, I haven't seen too much with Juve, but going forward on the ball, brilliant. 1-2 touch, he can drive with the ball as well. He score goals. I just think it's a great signing for him, Rod. There's another. Go on.
One thing that kind of Ramsey, he at Juventus, obviously he joined in 2019, and since then he has only played 49 games.
Yeah.
And then before then, where he was Arsenal, he did play 262 there, but his lack of game time in the last couple of years, that might prove a bit decisive in their bid to stay up, because he's probably not close to being Premier League match fit, so it might take him a few games to get up to speed.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. But I think what you could also say is, I think with this team, it's not really about building for the future as well, because you probably think see Ramsey if they do stay up. You don't think he's going to be spending too much time there long term. I think it's mainly about getting a set of players together in this January transfer window for Newcastle who can keep them up. And the next man they are being linked with is I think this is the most unlikely one out of them all. However, I think there's a possibility, maybe, Newcastle being linked with Aubameyang as an option up front. The Arsenal striker has definitely been out of favour of Mikel Arteta recently, and it looks like Arteta and Arsenal are eyeing up a move for Swedish striker Isaac, who plays for Real Sociedad. So two moves here potentially, Rod. I mean, let's start on Aubameyang to Newcastle. I hate this deal, to be honest, because I know they go class is permanent, form is temperature. What's it? Class is permanent, form is temporary. But with Aubameyang, since he got his new contract, he showed no signs of quality, in my opinion, and I know he could probably keep Newcastle up, but I just feel like it's a bit of a rough one, I think, Rod.
This is everything that's wrong with modern football. If this deal happens, he is about as mercenary signing as it gets. I think he signed a huge deal at Arsenal, collected his money each week, was made captain, and then just basically couldn't be bothered. And I'd hate Aubameyang anywhere near my club, so I don't know how Newcastle fans feel about it. And he's been a good player. He does score goals, but his head is simply with the money. His behaviour's awful. Like he was Arsenal's captain, and to miss training to go and get a tattoo that says everything about his attitude, his mentality. So if this does happen, then I feel for Newcastle fans because his head's not going to be in it, and he'll simply be there for the wage.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I think you would definitely say, unlike Ramsey, for me, I think this deal's got more negatives and positives. But I mean, let's say if they did get him and he could put a spell together now for the final months of the season, do you think he could keep them up?
No, I don't think they have the creativity. I think they solely rely on going forward. Set Maximum and Wilson. Wilson himself is a greedy striker. Set Maximum was quite greedy. I don't think they have the creative prowess going forward to give Aubameyang chances. And
Not even with Aubameyang on the counter attack. I think that could be an option for them. Going maybe with a front three of Wilson, Saint Maximin, and Aubameyang.
I think that it's just for me, his mentality. I don't think he's played Champions League football. He's played Europa League football. Am I right in saying now he's at the Africa Cup of Nations?
I'm not too sure, Rod. I probably should have done my research, but I'm not that professional yet. So I'm not too sure. But I do
I
think,
believe he is at the Africa Cup of Nations. That's a month without him. So I think this deal is probably not going to happen, and I hope it doesn't happen for Newcastle's sake.
yeah. But if Arsenal could offload him, do you think that would be good for them? And potentially bringing in Isaac, the striker for Real Sociedad, the big Swede. I think that could be a brilliant move for them. And also getting Aubameyang off. If they can get rid of him, get him off the wage bill, and maybe bring in a young striker like Isaac who could, offer them, future success. Also, he's a very highly touted striker.
So yeah, I have just had a look, and he is at the Africa Cup of Nations, so that deal probably isn't going to happen. But on Isaac, I think I agree. I saw him at the Euros. It was a bit underwhelming. I was expecting a bit more, but he's got huge potential. He's still young. He's banging in goals for Sociedad. I really like it as a signing, and I probably can see Arsenal pulling it off. They're heading towards the Champions League positions, the European positions, so they have got that pull, and. I'd like Isaac at Arsenal. It'd be interesting to see more attacking quality in that side.
Yeah, I think personally, like Arsenal, still building their spine. I think strikers a position they kind of lacked with Aubameyang going MIA and Lacazette being a bit hot and cold. I'd say. I think with Isaac as well, the familiarity with Odegaard, who I think's been superb since coming back to the side. I think it's a win-win. I think if we can get Aubameyang off the wage bill, bring in Isaac, I think that would be a great bit of business all round, Rod. Moving on to Villa now. Villa are very interested in this transfer window. All but done, I think you can say now, for Felipe Coutinho to join on loan from Barcelona. Obviously, Coutinho, formerly of Liverpool, he left Liverpool in January of 2018 for a transfer fee rising up to 142 million. So bringing in a player potentially, Rod, on a loan to buy offer. Someone who could have been worth 142 million. Just crazy for a team like Villa to maybe bring him in.
I think this says everything about Steven Gerrard, the club, and the pull that he has. And I think when this video goes out, hopefully it's a confirmed deal. I'm pretty sure it's all but confirmed. I've had the sources say that it's progressing fast. Gerrard was critical in it, and mate, this is a signing I'm so excited about. Over the years, we've had to deal with Borja Baston on transfer deadline day, Tom Carroll, Simon Dawkins. Finally, mate, Philippe Coutinho from Barcelona coming to Aston Villa. He's 29. He's still in his prime. If he can get any of the form to be fair, he had a decent season at Bayern last year. He was a good player for them. I think he'll probably play on the left wing for us, which is what we need. And a front three of Watkins, Buendia, and Coutinho just sounds so exciting. And Coutinho he's a brilliant dribbler. He's brilliant with the ball at his feet. Can shoot. Can take set pieces.
Yeah.
So I really like Coutinho. Really, really would.
Yeah, I could see him going into a midfield for you as well. Obviously, he did play for Liverpool in that under Klopp in that. So, well, did he play under Klopp? I think he did, didn't he? For a little bit.
Also,
yeah, and he did play in that midfield, and I think he could offer you something in the midfield, alongside someone like John McGinn and Douglas Luiz. So you can still get Buendia and what's his name, the Jamaican lad. Bailey. You still get that quality, but maybe with Coutinho in the midfield, I think he is a great signing for you. Depending on the fee afterwards as well. If you you've got the loan period to decide whether you want them or not, and I think that's brilliant bit of business again. Like you said, only 29. Obviously, he did have that horrendous patch where he just couldn't get any form going for Barcelona. However, he did go to Bayern either a season or 2 years ago, was it? Where he helped them win the Champions League, which was very impressive. And I just think he's a sort of player. Just going to Villa just adds that, star factor. And maybe getting rid of Grealish and now you getting Coutinho, I think it's just on the up for Villa.
Mate, there's been videos that have been released about how Grealish was talking to Peter Crouch, saying Coutinho is one of his idols, and he tries to mimic a lot of what Coutinho does. So, mate, I would absolutely adore this signing, and I'm sure Gerrard's got in mind where he'd play him, and it does look pretty much like it's happening. And I'm just so excited to see Coutinho at Villa Park in claret and blue, and it says a lot about the club when we can attract players from Barcelona. So I'm excited.
I think you have lacked a bit of that as well. Since Grealish left, you have lacked someone who can, drive from the midfield, take on a couple of players and get a shot away or find a pass. And I was just watching some videos on Coutinho this morning just to kind of recap, because it's been a while since we've watched him regularly play. And he was brilliant at that. Coming into a team which lost Grealish and probably does still miss a little bit of what he had to offer, but overall has been upgraded by the other signings being able to brought in. I just think he's perfect signing for Villa. If it goes well, great. If it doesn't, no biggie. It's only on a loan deal, but obviously with the option to buy as well after. And like you said, it's just great signing for Villa. I think you could talk about this deal in comparison with the Ferran Torres deal, with Shaw and go to Manchester City. I was talking to you earlier, and you're saying how Barcelona are really just looking to get him off the wage bill.
Yeah, I think this deal is it's lying on the fact that obviously Barcelona signed Ferran Torres. They can't register him because of the players who they have at the club or because of the wages. So I think it's a deal Barcelona are looking to do. I'm sure Coutinho is looking to be reunited with Gerrard. So if Barca can shift him off the wages and shift him from a registration spot, then they can register Ferran. So it works for both clubs,
Yeah.
which is why I don't think it will take much longer than maybe till tomorrow.
Yeah, I think this is a great deal all around, to be honest. I think you look at Ferran, who I thought, did have spells at City where he looked really top class, especially at like the start of the season where he'd scored quite a few goals. And I'm kind of surprised to see him go, but for him to go to Barca, I think it's a good move for him and for Barcelona. And I think Coutinho to Villa is also great, so great business all round. Villa are also being linked with a few left backs, Rod, including Tagliafico from Ajax and the 19-year-old Aaron Hickey. Hickey's played 19 games this season for Bologna, is it? Scoring 4 goals from the fullback position. I think either of them would be a great signing, Rod.
I think 100%. I think Hickey's potential is through the roof. He's still only 19. And obviously he's from Scotland, so he's got John McGinn.
Yeah, formerly of Hearts he was playing for.
Yeah, so I think I'd quite like Hickey. I don't know too much about him, but I've been told that obviously he's quite pacey, he's a 2-footed left back, and obviously he's in the developmental side. But I think we can afford to have someone for the future playing that sort of role because we know Gerrard likes his attacking fullbacks who can put in the crosses and just get forward.
Yeah,
and
scoring four in 19 games, I think that's a brilliant return from the fullback position. Also, Rod, I feel like Target's probably one of the weaker players in the Villa back four. I'm not too big of a fan of Mings. I think he's a bit, he's got a mistake in him. I do like Konsa and I don't mind Cash, but I think if you could improve on, especially Target with either Hickey or Tagliafico, be a brilliant signing.
I think 100%. I think Target is our weak fullback, which is a shame because last year he got our Player of the Year because he was fantastic. But we've seen this year he can't get up and down the pitch quite as fast, and going forward his attacking output is a bit poor. Defensively, he's probably a bit better than Cash, but going forward, he's not too great. So Tagliafico would be, I think, it'd be a huge improvement. He's one of Ajax's better players. He's had that Champions League experience. He is a bit on the older side, on 29, but still that's prime. So he's quite a well-rounded fullback. So Tagliafico or Hickey, I'd welcome with open hands and open arms. So I think where we do need to strengthen is we need a defensive midfielder, a left back, a centre back, and anything is a plus. Obviously, after offloading Axel to Tuanzebe.
Yeah, obviously Tuanzebe has now basically gone on loan to Napoli. Yeah, I think Tagliafico would be a great option, Ron. But there's another left back you're being linked to. I don't think this one's as likely, but Luca Dean looks set to leave Everton this January. Multiple clubs are interested, but a move to the Premier League is most likely, and Everton want to sell the player rather than loan. The teams who are really interested in him seem to be Newcastle, Villa, West Ham, and Chelsea. Chelsea seem to be leading the race, Rod. But it looks like this deal is going to happen to someone because, Everton have already made 2 signings at the fullback position. They've signed Ukraine international Vitaly Mykolenko and Patterson from Rangers. Mykolenko, only 22-year-old left back from Ukraine. I don't know too much about these 2 guys, Patterson either, but Digne looks set to leave. Newcastle, Villa, West Ham and Chelsea all interested, Rod.
100%. Luca Digne is definitely on his way out, especially after Everton have signed 2 new fullbacks. So obviously one will be just substituting Seamus Coleman, and the other will be playing in front of Luca Digne. And yeah, Chelsea, they are rumoured to be most likely the destination for Luca Digne, and I quite like Luca Digne, but similar to Target, I don't think he's as pacey. He's okay going forward. He has got a very good left foot, but I think obviously the pool of Chelsea are greater than Villa, so I do see Luca Digne leaving, probably Chelsea, but I wouldn't be completely opposed if he did come to Villa. And yeah, it's a shame because I thought Luca Dean was going to be part of Rafa Benitez's plans,
Yeah.
but like he's not.
Yeah, I really like Digne. I think he for either of the clubs. I think Newcastle would be a brilliant option for them. I'm not too sure he would prefer that move. I think West Ham. I think it's a bit of a strange one. I don't really see the West Ham move coming through. Although I do think he would be quality for them. I just think they like Cresswell. So it'd be a bit of a weird one to see Digne coming in. Villa, again, I think, that left-back position needs improving. But I think Chelsea is actually a perfect fit. I'm not too sure if he's got the legs to do what you see Reece James do on the other side. But I think when you look at who they've got, they do have Chilwell to come back. And Marcos Alonso. Chelsea were wanting to recall Emerson from Olympic Lyon, but Lyon said no. They didn't want the Emerson to return to Chelsea. I think Digne for Chelsea offers so much going forward. I think crossing ability, set piece ability, to have someone who's left footed, he could potentially take a set piece. Massive signing for them. I think he'd be Rod.
I think he's definitely a step up on Alonso. I think obviously Chilwell's now going to probably be out for the season. He's just had his operation. So, yeah, I imagine Luca Dean is going to slot into that left-back spot. And like you said, I'm not too sure if he has got the legs like Reece James to go up and down, but he can take a set piece and he's a good crosser of the ball for the likes of Lukaku and Werner.
Yeah, and I just think, I do think it's a bit of a weird one with Chilwell, who obviously will come back next season. I'm not sure if signing a player as big as Luca Digne is the right option, but this is what Chelsea do, man. They like to have one of the best players possible from the league in their team. So if it goes through, I think it would be a great deal for them. Probably a great deal for Digne. I think it's time to talk about United, Rod. Things aren't going great, I think you could say, at United since Rangnick's come in. Looks like the players are starting to turn their back on him, so potentially he's looking to bring in some names now.
Yeah, similar to what you just said, I've heard that I think it's up to 17 players who are unhappy, and that is a lot of players in the squad. That's obviously majority of the squad registered. So
yeah,
I don't know. It is a bit concerning. I don't know how you see that.
Yeah, I actually hate it. I think basically what's happened is they had a friend in charge in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and now actual managers come in. They just don't like the way it's been run. I really hate the way United have been playing. I think we saw 30 minutes against Palace where they showed that they have his ability to maybe be a pressing side, but since then I don't think I've seen them press since. Really embarrassing loss the other day to Wolves in the Prem, and I guess we could start off by talking about Wolves, because as I updated the live blog on Sky Sports, which isn't really saying much, the story has come up, but Ruben Neves has been apparently monitored by United for some time now. And United look interested in signing him in January. However, I think it's a bit unlikely. I think with Neves having a contract which doesn't run out for another 2.5 years, United having to pay that larger fee, it's just not something they really like to do. And I just can't really see them obtaining Ruben Neves in January, Rod.
I think Ruben Neves is exactly a sign that Man United need, but I personally can't see it happening. I know that Wolves have been rumoured to be in for Renato Sanchez, and obviously Moutinho is getting it on, so I'd imagine they want Renato Sanchez alongside Ruben Neves. Shock Portuguese again, but what can you do? And yeah, I think United have been poor, and I don't see Ruben Neves looking at them and thinking he'd have a better time there than he is currently at Wolverhampton. He's come out and said he loves the people, loves the city, and obviously he's used to the way things are run. Portuguese manager, a lot of Portuguese players. So
yeah,
like you said, I think United would have to pay a larger fee. So I don't think it's completely out their reach, but I think it's quite a difficult one.
Yeah, I'm not saying United can't afford it, but I just don't see it as a deal which is probably going to happen. Would I like it to happen? I'd love it to happen. For me, Neves has been a player who I've really enjoyed watching in the Premier League since Wolves came up. But also, when they did sign him, I thought it was a really interesting deal because I think he was Porto's youngest ever captain at the time when they signed him in the Championship. And I think he was like one of the most expensive Championship signings of all time, if not the most expensive Championship signing. Since he's come up, he's been quality, and I think he's exactly what United missed in that midfield. Someone who can dictate the play. I think you look at United's midfield, you see him McTominay play constantly, and he had a good game the other day, and everyone thinks he's world class. But for me, he's someone who needs to be taken out of the team, and I think Ruben Neves is the sort of player you could play alongside multiple different options in that United midfield. He can sit, he can go a bit further for the team, and I think he's quality. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I think there's two signings which are probably more likely. I think Zakaria is one of them. He's looking to leave Gladbach this January, and his contract runs out in the summer. And apparently it could be for a cut fee of around 7.5 million. Obviously, Zakaria had a leg injury over a year ago. However, he has come back and he's looked pretty solid. But for some reason, not being touted as the player he was before. And for 7.5 million, I think that's a banging deal for whoever gets him. But I think that's more likely, Rod. I don't know if you know too much about Zakaria.
It's funny you say about Zakaria. He's actually on Villa's shortlist as well, because we need defensive midfielders, but I don't know how interested we are in him. I like him as a player, and if that fee of 7.5 million is true, then I think that's an absolute bargain. I think he's exactly what you need in a modern day defensive midfielder. Can play the ball, wins it back, good at tackling, and I'd love him at Villa. But obviously, if United are quite interested in him, or that's what the rumours say, then yeah, I think the brilliant signing for United, and just think in general Zakaria is a good player.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams are really monitoring him. I think Bayern Munich is said to be interested in him, so I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up there. I just think he's a more likely option than Ruben Neves for me. I really like Zakaria. I was a bit disappointed with Switzerland for them not to really play him as much in the Euro, and but when he did play, I thought he looked quality. He can pick up the ball on his left foot, he can drive with it, he can pass it. A lot of different options, and he's a big guy as well, very athletic, 6'3" in the midfield. I think he could offer whoever he goes to next a really, a lot of quality. And for that fee as well, I think he's only 24, 25. I think that's a banging deal. Same as Ruben Neves. Another man who's been linked with United is Bubakar Kamara. Currently playing for Marseille. Definitely a player on United's list with his contract running out in the summer. Obviously, he's going to be available for a cheaper fee, I'd say, than if his contract wasn't running out. A lot of teams are, inquiring about him. There's a lot of interest in Europe and in the Premier League. I think you've seen the likes of Newcastle, Leeds United, especially United being interested in him. He's been on their radar apparently for quite a while. I like this signing. I don't know too much about Bubakar Kamara, but as a holding midfield, anything right now would do from what we've got. We've got one holding midfield, and midfielder in Matic. He can't play very much, and the rest of them are shite. So yeah, I'd take anyone.
Yeah, obviously I don't know too much about Bubakar Kamara, but obviously what you said, it seems like he's the player that you need. And I think defensive midfielders are going to be in demand for teams in the Premier League. So I want to see as much quality as I can in the best league in the world. So if that means bringing players from all across the globe into different positions, then so be it. I just want to see a brilliant Premier League, and for me, I think the Premier League this year is the highest quality we have seen in a while in terms of managers, in terms of personnel, and it is quite exciting.
Yeah, and there was another man linked with United. However, it looks very unlikely now as he's set to join, I think, Inter Milan. Julian Alvarez, a young Argentine striker. Was linked with United for quite a while. However, United failing to get rid of to offload Anthony Martial. So it looks like he's going to sign with Inter Milan, and I think Simon Dobson his name. I think he said it's not going to happen to United now. So I guess that's a bit disappointing. I didn't know too much about him other than he does look rather decent, people say. So other than that...
Once again, it's interesting you say that, because apparently Villa were after him all summer. He was meant to be coming in. There must have been about a month of talks of him coming in. Obviously, young winger, kind of attacking what we needed, and I thought we were going to get him, and now he's obviously linked with you. So
He's not
on
linked
that
with
side.
us anymore. He's linked with Inter.
But obviously, he was linked with you, and now.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And on touching on that, Simon Dobson, he has been releasing lots of Coutinho news. So I hope he is a credible journalist because I don't want to get my hopes up.
Yeah, I think he is, Rod. I mean, where should we end it, Rod? I think we should go with a less likely deal to happen, but rather interesting one. Apparently, Arsenal and Spurs are set to do battle for the young fullback, Lamptey. A 50 million price tag has been put on his head, Rod. What do you think about Lamptey to, either Arsenal or Spurs? I think it's rather unlikely in this transfer window. 50 million price tag, is that about right?
I think for his age, for his ability, I think so. But this, for me, is probably the most unlikely transfer that we've talked about. I think obviously Arsenal have signed Tomiyasu in the summer, who looks pretty locked on. Obviously Spurs signed Emerson Royale. I really like Lamptey. But I think he'll be at Brighton for another couple of years. He has got a few injury problems, so that could put teams off. But I think he's definitely going to be at Brighton until the summer at the very least. But I really do quite like Lamptey as a player, and I won't be surprised if in a couple of years, if he does sort his injury issues out and he just keeps doing what he's doing, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the England squad.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the price tag is a bit. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure if it's gonna be the right price tag, as Lamptey has come off a serious injury where he was out for the majority of the start of the season. He's obviously back now and he looks very, very decent. I think out of Arsenal and Spurs, the team which needs him most would be Spurs. I think obviously coming from Brighton, where he's playing as that right wing back in with the back three behind him, very similar with Spurs. I think what he does going forward is, I think he's superb, and I think that's something Tottenham probably lack. I don't really rate Emerson Royale. Just hasn't really ticked any of the boxes for me. He looks defensively a bit sus, and he doesn't look the greatest going forward. I think Lamptey would be a great improvement on him, but I just don't think it's very likely, especially with a 50 million price tag. I'm not too sure Spurs would even go in for that.
I find Emerson Royale a bit of a weird one. I think he's okay. I don't think he's anything special. I think they paid a big fee for him because he came from Barcelona. But what I've seen from him right now, I don't really know. But obviously, touching on Spurs, I think they are looking to. I don't know if it's a loan or a permanent transfer. I think they're looking to offload Doherty back to Wolves. So maybe they will be looking at right back cover in the future.
Yeah, and I think he'd be a great signing for them. No other news as of yet. Maybe me and Rod could do this as a weekly thing where we look at the transfer window as a whole. If not, we definitely will be talking about who's won the transfer window at the end of it. I think, so far the January transfer window has been quite exciting. Obviously, a lot of deals being done. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to come as well, Rod. Thank you for talking with me today.
No problem, mate. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully in the next episode of either that FPL show or we talk about transfers, we'll see Coutinho in a Villa shirt and maybe we can talk about him as a fantasy asset.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'm actually rooting for Villa to sign him. I think he could be a really good player for you guys. So hopefully. Thank you for watching. Be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe. We'll be back probably sometime next week now when the next game week comes up. Obviously, still 8 days until the transfer deadline for fantasy game week 23, I think it is. So we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.